Hello, 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 everybody. I hope that you guys can hear me. Can somebody give me a thumbs up if you hear me? Jaren, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I got you.
Okay, perfect, perfect. All right, everybody. Is my speaker okay, Jaren? Because I got some earbuds in, and the other day people were saying I sound kind of quiet. Jaren,
Yeah. You can.
am I loud enough, Jaren?
Hello.
Am I loud enough? Okay. All right, so I'm trying to give a mic to I can't see the name in the writing it's in. It looks like Le Bijo de Jared. The tag name is at Instigator Vibes, at Instigator Vibes. I'm trying to give a mic so that they can speak. Let me know if you can see the mic at Instigator Vibes, or can you make a request. Now, guys, I think this will be good because we want to discuss some things that deal with the law in America, and I think that the person at Instigator Vibes, they're actually trying to speak and communicate with understanding and not just playing and trying to ignore the law. So I thought it'd be good for us to be able to speak because there were so many messages that I'm getting from different places that when this person says something, I can't see the messages. So I think they said, "Yeah, let's do a space 3 times," and I didn't even see it once. So, and well, I saw it at the end. But are you here? Can you hear me at Instigator Vibes?
Yeah, I can hear you.
And what's your name? Just so I know what to call you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
Okay. Sorry about that. My name's Jared.
Jared, you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Nice to meet you, sir. Hey, so I see that you were responding back and forth, and it looked like you're someone who is really looking to say and see what the law really says. So I thought it might be good just to get on so we can kind of hear the ideas that we're saying verbally, which makes it a lot easier to understand and even get to the point where anything can be figured out. A lot of times when you're trying to get to the point where you excuse me, get to truth, um, when you're speaking in a nonverbal setting, it makes it difficult to understand where somebody's coming from. You know, uh, just by the way that people's minds work in psychology and encoding information, it always makes it easier if you can hear tone, if you can uh, ask questions in the middle of the time that someone is talking, so that you could have more clarity. But for everybody who's here, we were speaking about rights, we were speaking about common law, we were speaking about precedents, we were speaking about court cases and case law and these different ideas. So I think it'll be beneficial for everybody to be able to talk about it and understand in real time. I think it's a really good subject. And once again, I think that this person was one who was not playing a game, but more so trying to discuss with sincerity. So I thought it'd be good for us to talk. But Jared, I so I seen some of the back and forth, and one of my particular issues is what has been taught about this idea of case law. And I know for many, it would seem like I'm saying something that doesn't make sense because of what is taught in the world today. But from my point of view, and from what I see and study, and from creating private associations and entities, I deal with the grants of authority. And so when I see the idea of case law, I understand that it's something that attorneys like to use or say, and I can explain why I believe they do that. But when it comes to foundational law and the creation of governments and legislatures and the such, we grant authority in the state constitution. So if you take any one of our state constitutions in America and you take the federal constitution, you'll find that the fundamental law says that we grant power as the people to government. And the reason I say that there's no such thing of a case law is because we, the people, never ever granted any authority in any state for the judges to create law. And as a matter of fact, the maxims of law say that judges are not able to create law. So when you're speaking of case law, can you help me understand like where you're coming from?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Oh wait,
in the
let me ask this
beginning.
real quick. Let me ask real
Okay.
quick. Are you an attorney? Are you an attorney as well? I know the
No,
other guy in the chat is an attorney.
I'm not an attorney at law. No, sir.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. All right, please go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to have an idea. Please forgive me.
That's quite all right. I just would like to clarify first that I also made the mistake in my interpretation of case law. When I heard case law, I was thinking, cases in general.
Mhm.
As I come to understand the term more fluidly, it appears that case law is generally understood as a ruling from a Supreme Court. However, there does exist case law in district courts. But in order for that to be considered common law, which again, I have a discrepancy with the term,
Mhm.
for the district court's rulings to be considered a common law, there would have to be, excuse me, I lost my train of thought.
You were saying under the Supreme Court would be considered as case law, but then for it to be common law under the federal district court, that it
Okay,
would be.
yes, thank you for that.
You're welcome,
If
sir.
it was under the district court, for it to be a common law consideration, it would have to
Mhm.
go under judicial review, right? And
Woo!
judicial
Whoa!
review would be the Supreme Court reviewing the lower court's decisions. And upon that review, the ruling that the Supreme Court makes, whether the district court or lower court made an appropriate ruling or not, could be considered case law from then on forward. But that doesn't necessarily make it a law. What case law is just a tool. It's a copyright tool, quite literally, because there's no point in arguing the same case with the same type of scenario and same similar facts twice, right? It's not going to
Yep.
be the same defendant, obviously, because that would be unconstitutional unless you
You
committed the
just
same crime twice.
you
However,
just brought up an amazing point though when you brought up judicial review. That was super huge.
well, I've always wondered, as most of us do, how do we have power over the government and what is that power? People think, oh, we have the right to bear arms. And that doesn't mean we can just wave our guns around and expect to move people like cattle. We correct our government every 4 years. And if we really want to do our duty, we would petition and ask the courts for judicial review and all these things, right?
Can I ask you a question about that judicial review?
Go for it.
So when you have a judicial review, isn't that the first time that judges are actually hearing a case that was not judicial, meaning administrative?
Well, it would be when you mentioned the powers that we delegate or the authority we give that we grant to the three branches, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In a judicial aspect, in a court of general jurisdiction, that is
Mm-hmm.
considered sovereignty, right? And a
Not
lot of
sure.
people
Not
have,
sure. Not sure. I need you. I need you to explain that.
well, the people have sovereign, and the people are sovereign. That's not to say they're sovereign citizens, but they are
Mm-hmm.
sovereign, and they have a
Okay.
sovereign power. That power,
Mm-hmm.
that sovereign power, is granted to government. Not all, but generally speaking, it's granted to government, so they can do their duties, right?
Let me ask you now. Where would you say you would find that? Like where in a state constitution have you ever seen it say, "We the people grant our sovereign power to the government"? I see where it says you can work as agents and trustees, and you
Well,
can do this limited thing,
this would
but
be
never says
entirely under
sovereign.
the federal constitution because judges in the states are bound by Article 6 of the same United States Constitution.
Only in the
Um,
matters that we grant authority to the federal constitution to handle, though.
that is what the Constitution is. It is a grant.
Yeah, a limited grant.
Well, yeah, and the power not therein, meaning the Constitution,
Stays with the
remains with
people.
the state and the people.
Yeah, so the state is actually the people. So
Well, no,
the
it
government,
can't be the same. Otherwise, they would have just put the people or the state. But in the Constitution, it says the state or the people, and the
yeah,
state
because
would
the
be the
states,
political entity of the people.
yeah.
Right? That would be
So
the government entity.
so if you look, so the government entity is controlled by the people, not the servants. The
Correct.
servants are on a lower level than the people.
Correct.
So even when the servants take somebody to court, they have to say, "We, the people of Louisiana, versus this person." The reason
Well,
they have to do that,
that's a whole nother argument, and there's a big issue with that. And it becomes conspiratorial in nature, or at face value at least. But if you file FOIAs, the appropriate FOIAs with the National Archives, you can attain documents such as the Constitution of the District of Columbia. I think that was in 1871. And then from there are certain things that happened where federal authority was imposed upon the states.
well,
And
only with what the people granted when they created the federal constitution, though.
well,
So
the problem is the Civil War. We never ended the Civil War, and so people again, like I said, it's conspiratorial at face value, but the facts are there. And because we are at war, there are certain powers that are delegated to them through executive orders.
wait, so
Um,
are they still fighting? You're saying they're still fighting now, the Civil War?
yes, it's very much a civil war.
So
For example,
where
yes, absolutely. Give me 1 second. Let me pull up my cases. Bear with
and
me.
please don't let me forget, because I got to go back to what you said in the first part of the conversation about case law and federal common law. I want to deal back with that, but please don't let me forget, because I had heat exhaustion over a year ago, and my brain doesn't do as well as remembering everything word for word. So if you could please remind me to go back there.
Yes, sir. If I remember, I will remind you. Give me 1 second. I'm almost there. Let's
Okay.
see here. Okay, these are the prize cases, 67 US 635 from 1862.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get to the point. Oh my gosh. Okay. War has been well defined to be that in which a nation prosecutes its right by force.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's what's been going on since the Civil War.
Wait, so I need to explain to me where, because I don't see any war out in the street like the Civil War.
No,
at
it
all.
doesn't. No. The war doesn't necessarily imply what you see in Hollywood.
But the quote you said was force. So force would be a physical
Exactly.
action on somebody else to make them do something. So
Well,
where are
like I
you
said,
seeing?
a grant of federal power has been superimposed at a state level, which
So
is
wait,
unconstitutional,
which
and that
power are
would
you
be the
speaking of?
force.
Which power
Federal
are you
power.
speaking of? What power? So what is it specifically that you see happening that you're talking about, so I can catch up?
Well, it's a long list of things, but to be specific in one aspect, it could be the federal grant was made to commercial courts. Commercial court is not a commonly used term. It would be a misnomer, but for the sake of this topic and this conversation, I'm calling it a commercial court.
So
and
like a
that commercial
legislative
court.
tribunal, you're saying? Like
No, not a legislative tribunal, an administrative tribunal.
that would be
There
the
is a
same.
major difference. No,
Oh
they're
no,
not.
that would be. It's
No,
exactly
they're
the
not.
same.
No,
It's
no, no. An
exactly the same.
administrative tribunal would be equivalent to bylaws. Like, let's
Okay,
look at a
you're
corporation.
right.
Okay?
You're right. So who creates who creates the administrative tribunal? So you'll
The
see we're saying
federal
the same thing.
power. Well, it's not. You
The
said legislative. You said legislative. I
yeah,
meant
because the
administrative. The
yes, because the
administrative power is created by the federal power, which
okay, so
is that right by force.
the federal legislature creates agencies, right? Which do
Yes.
administrative actions, which is administrative powers, right?
Yes.
So when I say legislative tribunal or administrative tribunal, it's the legislature trying to tell an agency that they can do what the Supreme Court just said they can't do and Thomas Massey just said they can't do. The legislature is creating an entity to grant them power to attack the people without right. And
In
this is
current events, you could say that, but it originated from executive order under the war powers.
yeah, but so where does the executive get war powers?
The president.
From either the Constitution or from the legislature.
Well, the War Powers Act did come from Congress, yes.
Yes.
It was the president who exercised his unitary theory authority.
So just so you know where I'm coming from, when you'll make a statement, right? And then you'll start it at one level. So you'll say, oh, it's war powers or emergency powers. And then I always say, okay, so where did that come from? The reason I say where did that come from, because
That's a valid point.
I deal with original law, and that's how you go back to erase everything that's wrong. So where we like attorneys will usually say stuff like,
if you wanna go back to legislative, and I'll give you that. I'm not depriving you that.
oh no, and it's not even an argument. I just realized we're saying different things. We're saying the same thing in different ways. You're calling it one thing because you are calling in the power that's exercised.
There's a reason for that, and that's because a legislative tribunal is known to be a Supreme Court.
No, because the Supreme Court was created by the people as the only judicial power. We allowed them in the federal Constitution to create courts that are lesser than, or tribunals, not just courts, tribunals that are lesser than the Supreme Court. So when the legislature creates an entity lesser than the Supreme Court, they can't grant it more power than the Supreme Court.
I would have to correct something else too, because we, the people, technically really didn't grant anything. It was the delegates established by Congress that created the Constitution for their posterity. The posterity is who we would be. And as posterity, we act as we, the people.
That wouldn't make sense, and let me help you understand why. There's no way that the delegates for an entity can create something before we create the entity.
Well, that's so we the people are for. The delegates are on behalf of the people.
Yes, so the people
Congress couldn't do it. Congress had to find delegates.
There was no Congress. There's no United States Congress.
Yes, there was under the Articles of Confederation. There was very much a Congress.
So that would be a different entity then, wouldn't it?
No, because Articles of Confederation is also found in the U.S. Constitution.
Yes, but it's a different entity, though, right? So if you
it's the same entity. It's the exact same entity. There's no separation.
So when we created the United States, right? A more perfect union as a person, you're telling me that a new entity wasn't created differing a little bit from the other entities that were created before that?
It was how would you say that in a more common sense? It was a resubmission of the Articles of Incorporation.
Okay,
like
so
you would with a business. So like
I create entities, and I defeat the government all the time with private associations, which are associations just like the states are political associations. So every time you write a document instituting or granting or establishing power, there's a different entity created at the time, every single time, or else you wouldn't do it.
Technically, that would be your natural person, but you could call it an entity.
Why would it be a natural person?
Because it's attached to. When you, it honestly took me about a year to do the full journey of persons, natural persons, etc.
I
And
understand. Natural persons was a way of confusing people about people and persons.
no, because in the Constitution, persons was generally accepted as slaves. Natural
No,
persons would be that which is attached to an inhabitant, an individual
no,
being.
not
Yes,
actually. Person in the Constitution is established as a political term for the office or the
it
seat
de-
that you're
it
going to hold.
depends. It depends on if it's capitalized, not all caps, but sometimes like people has a capital P or people has a lowercase p. Those are
Well,
different usages,
well,
and same with
person though,
persons.
person deals with the personnel of government and their role in society. So when you create a membership entity like citizenship, when you
Mhm.
create a entity, you have the entity being created and instituted and established in the document. And then you can't have citizens to the entity until the people as a whole agree to grant authority or representative grant authority to the entity. When the entity is created, now you have seats. The seats can be filled from the highest part of government to the lowest part of government, and that's where you get citizens. But there's no citizens until the entity is created. Then the people can come into the membership entity as citizens, and now they can get the benefits of being part of the entity. So if
Well,
there's
that's
no,
precisely the definition of a constitution. It's a constituency, which is a club, a membership.
yes, exactly. So you can't have citizens of the entity or agents of the entity until you create the entity. And then you would elect or appoint officers to fill those seats inside of the entity. Once you do that, now you can have a delegate on behalf of the entity. But before that, you would have a delegate on behalf of the people. And there's no entity yet. So when the United States was created, the people of the states used their power to create a federal entity for a more perfect union, a separate person. It gave them less than 20 specific items for the
Okay,
legislature
well,
to
let me
handle in the
hang
federal.
on a second. I have to make a separation again because
Mm-hmm.
what made the change, what caused the change from Articles of Confederation to the Constitution of 1787 was um, the Northwest Treaty. When we received that property from France, I think it was. I could be mistaken on who we received it from, but we received the property surrounding near the Great Lakes, and that was referred to as the Northwest Territory. And this Northwest Territory, as it was ceded to the United States under the Articles of Confederation, demanded a federal government for this secession to take place, right?
I don't,
For
I
this,
don't, I don't, I don't know if it was exactly that way. What I see is that the people realized that they could have war and jealousy
I mean,
between
it's in
states.
the treaty. It specifies exactly what needs to be done. And
Yeah, but
immediately after that, it
if
was
you
the
look, let
United
me just say
States
this real quick.
Constitution that was created.
If you look at the people who were creating the nation, you'll see that they did it because they
That's
were
what I'm
trying
trying
to
to
stop
explain.
jealousy.
The people that created it were those inside the Northwest Territory. That's what the
N-
treaty demands. So when it says we the people, it's not all inclusive, right?
Yes, yes, it
Yeah.
is.
No, you have the posterity is, but
No, no,
not
no.
we the people that established the Constitution, because you have to understand where it arose from, and that
The
is the
states.
Northwest Territory.
No, 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 no.
No, not the states.
The states
It did
created the
not.
Constitution.
It did
So,
not. I apologize, but it did
so
not.
you're telling me that the people of the 13 colonies, the people who were already here, who created states, did not create the United States Constitution?
If they created it, then why'd they have to join it? And then if they created it, why would they have to wait 2 years or whatever it was,
You would.
two states
Okay,
to
so
sign or join it?
it's very easy. You would join it because you created it to protect your rights and
It was
property and
already
yourself from
created, and
war.
the states had
No,
to
it wasn't.
enjoin
No.
themselves for it to be
Yes,
active.
yes, because the states were
But it was
considered
already
separate.
created, and that's what I'm explaining. It was
No,
created
no,
by the
no.
Northwest Territory and those
It wasn't.
people.
The
It
states were
was.
considered sovereign nations, every state. And they were loosely protecting themselves, and then they
No, they
realized,
weren't. They
man,
were considered colonies under the United Kingdom. Well, the
No,
British Empire.
that's before we decided to break off the king. When we decided to break off from the king and we established individual states as the people, we started
Okay, after the
realizing
Declaration.
that
Okay, yeah.
that war could be waged on us very easily, and we couldn't get together to fight very fast. And when it came to trade routes, it was easy for states to block your ability to trade and do commerce. If you look at the Federalist Papers, it'll tell you they were jealous of, there were states that were jealous of other states' commerce, and they would try to fix rates or wage war or do some dirty stuff to try to stop you from making money because you had resources. So the states came together and said, look, we already are the United States. We're together in purpose, but let us make a more perfect union to guard against the idea of somebody attacking us and us not having expedient ability to wage war at the same time and be able to protect our property, our border, our rights, etc. So the federal government was created to make things easier when it came to the welfare of the people and to make war and to protect commerce.
I agree
And
with the latter.
that's clear.
I agree with the latter, but let me just read this real quick because it is important that it's understood.
Okay.
This is July 13th, 1787. Okay.
Mhm.
This is, to be short, days before the Constitution was even thought about. Congress passed the Northwest Ordinance, an act that established a framework for governing the Northwest Territory, admitting new states and
Mhm.
protecting the civil liberties of settlers. It
Mhm.
also banned slavery in the new territories. However, it granted slaveholders the power to recapture enslaved people. Blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah, blah, blah. Congress drew in part or on the work of Thomas Jefferson from his time in Congress. The Northwest Territory covered a massive tract of land that would eventually become the states of Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, and a section of Minnesota. Following the Civil War Reconstruction, Republicans drew on the Northwest Ordinance's text to craft the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery. But my point here, and I'm not going to read the whole document, but that is the Northwest Ordinance.
Where did that document come from, or what year is it?
This is a summary of the Northwest Ordinance. The Northwest Ordinance was July 13th, 1787.
No, what year? What year is the document you're reading? Is what I'm saying. The article, the journal, whatever it is. What year is that? Because I'll tell you, the original 13th Amendment didn't say anything about slavery. It spoke about titles of nobility.
Yeah, it does speak about titles of nobility. You're absolutely right. Where's my Constitution? Let's see here. This is from constitutionalcenter.org, or you can go to the ORLG or whatever, Organic Laws.
Wait, so constitutionalcenter.org, can you see the date of that article? Because the reason I say that is because the Jesuits do a
Again,
lot of
it's just a summary of the Northwest Territory Ordinance.
Well, here's why I'm saying that. If you're not careful when you see the documents that are written in later times,
I've read the Northwest Ordinance several times over, and the summary is accurate. I can make my own summary, and it would read very similar.
But the summary just says something that's not law. If you go back and read what you just read,
the Northwest Territory is very much law.
So the 13th Amendment, was not about slaves. It was not about slaves. It was about titles of nobility and people.
Again, it didn't say that it abolished slavery. It said it drew on the Northwest Ordinance text to craft the 13th Amendment.
Which what? Say that.
Which helped abolish slavery.
Yeah, so the original 13th Amendment was not about slavery. You don't help abolish slavery when you're dealing with titles of nobility. That's what I'm telling you.
Right.
Whoever wrote that article is writing based on an idea that came at later time after they hit the original 13th Amendment. They hit it. So you can't if somebody says that the Northwest Territory Doctrine was used to get rid of slavery based on the 13th Amendment, it would be a hoax because the original Constitution didn't have that in the 13th Amendment. It had the title of nobility clause.
Let's see here. Let's just read the 13th Amendment.
Can you tell us the date, though? I understand what the 13th Amendment says now, But what I'm telling you is the old 13th Amendment. You can look up David Dodge.
Why David Dodge? Did I lose you? I think I lost you.
Dave, I lost you, man. You there? If he's driving around, he's probably getting some bad reception.
Okay, no worries.
So we'll give him some time.
Time to find.
Sometimes he's got to drop out. Yeah, I just got the thing says host is having connection issues. Give it a sec. They may reconnect soon. So he's probably in a bad cell phone spot. So we'll just wait if that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's why he does the gets me the co-host so I can hold it in case he gets bad reception.
Smart.
Dave, you there? No one can hear you. We'll just keep waiting.
All right, y'all. We are back. We got kicked out of the space. I was struggling to hear everybody. I think my signal went crazy. Jared, can you hear me, cuz?
Yeah, I got you. Last thing you were talking about was 13th Amendment, David Dodge. That's where we left off.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't see the gentleman back here. But I think this is very important for us to look at, guys. And guys, you see how much quicker this stuff goes when we can just talk peaceably on a space, right? We're able to understand each other a lot better and to deal with different issues quickly and efficiently so we can move forward to the next thing. A lot of times when you are blocked from being able to speak, you're allowed to say a lot of weird stuff or lie, and you can always just kind of change your argument up a little bit and people don't hear it as fast real time because the messages go to different places. The messages go to different places. Sorry, y'all. I spent the night at a friend's house and I think their dog is mad at me. Hey, get out of here. Yo, get out of here, dude. Dude, it's a fan. Get lost.
I sent instigator vibes and an invite. So let's hope he sees it and he'll come back over.
Yeah, instigator vibes in the discussion over in the New Hampshire area seemed like somebody who wanted to really discuss real law and like they were sincere. So I thought it'd be beautiful to get together and talk. And I'm enjoying this space and actually being able to discuss back and forth. But this is the thing, guys. Real people, real grown-ups are not afraid to just come talk. You know, it's like when we want to advance, like this is our nation and we're trying to get things back in order. We're doing things to get things back in order. Real serious people love to just get together and have a conversation. Like you don't do all this study for nothing, all this work for nothing, and then not talk about it when you care about the people. So you know you have a real person when they'll just happily just come talk. They're not afraid, you know. They just have a discussion. He told us his name, and he's being serious about. Are you serious, dude? Okay, can you just like go that way? Okay. All right, y'all. So y'all just pray for me that I don't die. But anyway, so this is awesome though, guys. When we could just come together and talk like adults, and this is for our nation. So when we can come together and have discussions about our nation and how things work, it only blesses the people. What you'll find is with a lot of the attorneys, they either want to play about our power or they don't want to really talk to us about it. They want to hide it like it's not true. They're snarky. But we're blessed by God when we can come together and speak. Jared, are you back?
I'm here. I think he's here. Yep.
Perfect. I apologize. My signal got messed up or something and the whole space got lost, so please forgive me. But you were reading from a document. We just went over what the document was. I was asking you what year the document was, I believe.
Right. And let me address something real quick. I was telling you about the Northwest Ordinance. And I was combining that with the Treaty of Paris. The Treaty of
Yes,
Paris
sir.
is relevant, but I just wanted to make that correction there.
Say that
Um,
word again. I couldn't hear it. You said the Treaty
the
of
treaty,
Paris is.
it's relevant. I just had to
Oh,
make that
gotcha.
correction. It was the
Yes, sir.
Treaty of Paris that the territory was ceded to, and then it was the
Mhm.
Northwest Ordinance that created basically the need for a new constitution. And that was the Northwest Ordinance was the rise to the Constitution.
So let me ask you this. So when you look at the constitutions plural as the fundamental law, right? Do you see the state constitutions as separate entities that were created by the people for a certain purpose and differing purpose than the federal constitution?
No, personally, I see it more like as a subsidiary.
Hmm.
Honestly,
Wait, which
I
way
do like
though?
the
Which
state
way?
being a subsidiary of the federal government, or at least the Constitution. That is, um, like the states, they do have their own authority to regulate themselves in their own territory, but
Hmm.
they have to do so within the framework of the Constitution, right? They can't jeopardize certain rights or anything like that. So,
So
in
let me
my
ask you
mind,
this. Can I ask you to go further? Is there so are there rights that are in the states that are not bound by the federal?
and by federal, you mean the Constitution, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think the Constitution necessarily binds anything. I don't. I wouldn't use bound to be safe.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is like so there's certain things in the state constitution that you can find as rights that the federal constitution doesn't mention.
Right. I mean, the
So then
Constitution
that
is not to be exhaustive.
yeah, so then how would the states be a subsidiary if the states created the federal?
Well, are we talking about when we say state? Are we talking about the people that collectively make up said state, or are we talking about the political entity
Well,
that
the
is?
political entity is owned and controlled by the people who create it.
It's not owned and controlled. To be precise, it would be like a trustee relationship. The people are the beneficiary and grantor, whereas the trustee would be the government, the state government
Okay.
or
So
federal.
the trustee would be the worker for the government, but the government is the person, which is a fiction, a corporate entity. And then the
Mhm.
servants would be under the people and belong to the people, or owe diligence to the people.
Through the Constitution, the federal Constitution, yes, because they have to take the oath to the Constitution, and that is the guarantee that they won't trespass on the people. They won't,
But the
you
but
know,
the, but
overstep.
the state constitutions have guarantees that are totally different from the federal, and the
No,
people. No, they
not
do.
really. They're all
I
pretty
can
much the same.
I can prove it in 5 seconds.
Mhm.
So if you look at California Constitution and Ballotpedia, you go to Article 1, Section 24. Hey, Jared, you got your computer in front of you?
Yes,
Yeah, I
sir.
got the. Well, I'm
Oh,
on my
sorry.
phone, but I can get it for you.
Can you pull up Ballotpedia, uh, California Constitution, Article 1, Section 24, real quick? It's going to be the Declaration of Rights, Section 24. I believe that's Article 1 there. Dude, you're a
Yeah,
bully.
I've got it.
Okay, what does it say?
It says rights guaranteed. This is California Constitution, Article 1, Section 24.
And notice it says guaranteed, everybody. Rights what?
Rights guaranteed by this Constitution are not dependent on those guaranteed by the United States Constitution.
Yep,
Okay, so
I would agree with that.
there's rights guaranteed in the state, and there's right guaranteed in the federal. They're
Again,
not.
that's why I said I wouldn't use bound because the states are sovereign. They have their sovereign authority. That's how a
Yeah.
state is
So
able to legalize marijuana where the federal does not.
so then that would mean that this federal does not have jurisdiction over all issues, just the issues we let them have jurisdiction over in the states.
Well, yeah, Article 3, no, Article 4, Section 3, Clause 2, regarding other territory and property. of the United States. That's what Congress can regulate.
Yeah, so they can only control their property, their buildings in the state. They can't control the people of the state.
Correct. Just like in a treaty. So that's why treaties are important, because Article 6 judges are bound by treaties. And in most treaties, like Louisiana Purchase, for example, the treaty that, or the land that was ceded in said treaty was basically all the land as it was defined, except private property, which means private property went along with it, but it's not ceded to the government. It belongs to whoever owns that property.
Yeah, so the people, so the people aren't controlled by government. Now, this gets to exactly what I was talking about on that post. So when you're dealing with cases and you're dealing with things that are administrative cases are not the same as judicial cases.
Correct.
So because they're not the same, attorneys make a mistake, and the guy on the post makes this mistake all the time. He thinks that statutory text and administrative case hearings are included in the common law, and it's not. He doesn't understand that precedence is a different word than case law, right? Case law is not legit. There's no judge that makes a law out of a case, right?
That's why it's called a ruling.
I just
Yes,
walked
sir.
in there looking at one of them strawberries, and I remembered you told me not to eat them. So
Jerry,
I
your
left,
mic is on.
and I didn't eat them.
Jerry, your mic is on.
Sorry about that.
Hey, just want to let you know. So
You say I'm eating my strawberries?
I didn't know if you were eating watermelon or not, but I didn't want you to say something that might go on the space that you didn't want people to hear.
No. She made strawberries for dessert, so I can't have any. My bad. I apologize.
Tell her I said hi. All right. So, so the administrative cases that come from statute are what the attorneys want to be called case law. Because if they can get a judge to make a conclusion that seems like it's over the rights of the people, then they can call it case law and say whatever the judges say recently, we got to go by.
Right.
Where in the common law,
all cases, it has to be that specific type of case. It has to be that very specific scenario. So
no,
it's a case. It's a law for that specific type of case, and it's not a law that governs the people. It's a law that governs the court. It's basically saying, if this has already been determined by one judge, then who are you, this judge, to tell that other judge otherwise?
Well, see, it doesn't make sense, because precedence is what you use in common law when there's a judicial hearing to tell what the discussion is going. I mean, what the rule of law already is.
Technically speaking, common law only derives from Supreme Courts.
No,
Supreme Court is the only one that's for the people.
No, every court is supposed to follow the Constitution and the fundamental laws. You said that earlier when you said that they're bound, but the state judges are bound by the federal Constitution.
Yes.
So if they're bound by the same Constitution, they have a duty to carry out justice in the same way, no matter what court it is. So whenever you get a situation where you run into one of the people, you are to grant them the guarantee of moving by the common law if you're going to take anything from them in a court of record with a jury of their peers. And what happens is all the administrative cases, the legislature tells what the court can do. It tells that they can strike evidence if they want to. They can seal the court. They can make the court private by hiding evidence and striking it, or just sealing the whole case. So in common law, the court must be open. You must have a jury of your peers. You must be able to cross-examine witnesses.
That's an Article 3 court. That's a Supreme Court.
Well, that's an Article 3 court and a state court with general jurisdiction.
As long as it has general jurisdiction, absolutely. But a lot of the time we find ourselves in courts of inferior jurisdiction, where they reside on statutory authority.
Those are tribunals that are legislative or legislative tribunals.
They would be administrative tribunals. They're not legislative. No, they're not.
You're saying administrative because the agency is controlling it, right?
Oh, yes, that's correct. You're saying legislative because it derived from Congress. That
I'm
wouldn't
saying
be entirely accurate, though.
federal Congress or state Congress. Okay, so let's just make it easy. So whenever you have an agency that is doing things in a state, whose power do they have to move by?
Say that again.
So in order to have a legitimate agency in a state, who has to create it?
The legislative.
Okay, so the legislature creates this entity and creates its rule of law or function. Then the entity that is holding the administrative cases came from the legislature.
To a point, yeah. Doesn't
Okay,
necessarily mean it's constitutional.
Well, no agency that's not in any constitution is going to be constitutional. Constitution is the Okay, so the Supreme Court is constitutional because it's in the Constitution. It's granted by the people. The legislature is constitutional because it's granted by the people. But you're not going to find an agency in the Constitution. So that means it's a creation of the legislature.
No. It doesn't have to be in the Constitution to be constitutional. Again, the Constitution is not exhaustive.
Okay. So where does the Constitution grant anybody power to make unconstitutional things?
It doesn't. That's why the law makes very clear. If a something, statute, act, law, regulation, mandate is found to be unconstitutional, it is void.
Okay, so where do agencies come from?
From the federal grant of authority. Because of what?
So we got state agencies and we got federal agencies.
Yes.
So where do they come from?
Which ones?
Any of them. Just take your pick. If an agency exists, where did it come from?
It would have to come from a federal grant of authority.
Okay, so who grants federal authority? The people who created the federal constitution or the government?
The legislature.
Okay,
because
so
the people is through the people that laws are enacted.
Okay, so
those laws are enacted by the legislative.
Okay,
and
so
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, the legislative, once those laws are enacted, I mean, it becomes law, right? So they can make war powers acts, they can grant or revoke immunity, they can create police powers.
It can become law if it's constitutional, but if it's not constitutional, it creates no office, no seat, no authority, no power.
But that argument has to be presented.
No,
right?
that's already in the law.
And how is it? That's what I was trying to explain with the power of the people. Like, you can't just expect them to know all this shit. I mean, you could, because ignorance of the law is no excuse. However, we have our own duty to uphold these fuckers. Pardon my language.
No, we have a duty to teach them fundamental principles of law over and over and over again, frequent recurrence. That's our duty.
You wouldn't be able to necessarily teach them unless, I mean, you probably went to some sort of law school, in my opinion.
Well, I
don't think a police officer has authority to enforce laws if he doesn't understand what those laws are.
Well, we teach government officials all the time, and none of us went to law school. And we have government officials around the country. We don't
teach them. I think we persuade them.
No, I think would
be more accurate.
We literally teach them daily in groups behind the scenes. You've actually seen some of them post where they post about maxims of law and the such. That was us teaching them. We literally sit down with them, break down the law to them in the books. They learn and they say, "Oh yeah, that is the law. I can see it as plain as day." Right, the argument you're having in New Hampshire right now.
It doesn't denounce the fact that we still have to present that argument. So if an act is enacted and the people of the state or collectively of the states find that some act is unconstitutional, we have to present that to our legislators.
So is it unconstitutional on its face or only when we say something?
It's basically unconstitutional. I mean, I hate to say it, but when we bring it to the attention, and again, doesn't necessarily make it right. But I see government today, personally, this is a personal observation, as if we were playing chess. I'm an amateur. I don't know hardly anything about chess in this scenario, whereas the government and attorneys are masters, okay? And we're just playing chess. It's obvious and very probable that the masters are gonna abuse my lack of knowledge. Okay.
So let me ask you: do the masters, like let's say legislative body members, go to the same schools we go to?
No,
So they go to better schools than us?
they go to law school.
Okay, the legislators.
Most of them.
Okay, so
It's not why they're legislators, but they did. Most of them go to law school. Yeah.
do law schools teach the state constitutions?
No, unfortunately.
Okay, so then the same way that they didn't get taught the state constitutions, we didn't get taught.
Uh-huh.
So if they didn't get taught and we didn't get taught, is it all the legislators that are doing wrong against us on purpose, or did they just not get taught like we didn't get taught?
The latter.
Okay, so if they didn't get taught like we didn't get taught, then wouldn't it be reasonable that the way to fix this is broad diffusion of knowledge?
Well, we have to bring it to their attention. That's exactly what I'm saying. And you could call
Well,
that teaching or whatever, but in law, that's petition.
no,
So
in law, it's actually called bringing the government to a frequent recurrence to fundamental principles, meaning teaching them the fundamental principles often.
in the operation of law, it is called a petition.
That's
It's
not
in the
right.
Constitution.
That's not right. A petition is where you're addressing an issue with the government in order to deal with the issue so that they can give you a redress
That's
of grievance.
exactly what we're talking about.
Redress
We
of
have an
grievance
issue
is
with an act, whether it be unconstitutional or not. If we want that issue redressed, we have to file a petition. That's
well,
exactly what we're talking about.
that's totally different because we shouldn't be in that situation if we are giving a frequent recurrence to fundamental principles. If you're frequently teaching government what they're supposed to do in their job description, then the attorneys can't lie to them to make them do something different,
Okay, but
and
if
we
you're
won't
also
have that.
teaching them, then you have a duty and care to ensure that what you're teaching is accurate. And as far
Amen.
as I'm concerned, everything we've discussed, and I mean everything, right, is not entirely accurate. There are
Can you show
accuracies,
me?
and
Can
we
you
do
show me
have
where?
agreements, but not everything that's been discussed here is entirely accurate.
So can
Thus,
you
I
show me
wouldn't
where I'm
expect
wrong?
myself to teach government anything because, as far as I'm concerned, I don't have a fucking clue.
Well, then how do you know what I'm accurate in then?
Because law is subject to interpretation, and based
Says
off
who?
the
Says
little
who?
that I do know,
So wait, hold on. So what constitution says law is subject to interpretation?
it's
Where
not.
can I find
It
that
doesn't
in
need to be
any
defined in
any
Constitution. It's
in
been a
any law?
principle since at least 1100.
Okay, so show me in any maxim of law. I'll pay you $500 if you could show me any maxim of law that says that the law is not simple and that it can be interpreted differently by different people and not plain English text. So which one you gonna show me?
I don't know. Give me a second.
And notice if you're saying you don't have a clue, and then you're using a standard based on not having a clue to say that you shouldn't be teaching or I shouldn't be teaching or that I'm inaccurate. So I just quoted
Well,
you
that's the
something.
importance of this space, right? Is so we
Amen.
can come in here and discuss these things
Yes, sir.
and
Yes, sir.
and make accurate conclusions, and then
Yes,
from
sir.
here we can go teach.
Amen.
But
But I
right
would
now,
ask
as it
you though,
stands, I don't think we're in the capacity to teach
well, you don't
somebody
think,
in
but
law.
you don't think, but the problem is you just said you don't have a clue. And then I just gave you things from the state constitutions that you didn't recognize when I said it about
Well, that's
frequent
what I'm
recurrence of
trying to
fundamental
explain
principles.
with the purpose of law. Again, the purpose of and importance of this space, right? If, for example, law is subject to interpretation, I
Wait,
know
wait.
that
You
I'm a
said if
nobody.
it is,
I can't.
or
I'm
are you
saying
saying if
if
it is?
because you argued it earlier, right? That's why I used if. Okay,
Mhm.
so if that is right, if it's subject to interpretation, then I can't depend on my own interpretation, right? That would be
Wow.
egotistical.
That's a Jesuit argument, though. The Jesuits instilled that into people to say it's up to interpretation. So
No,
that
we're
they,
united.
so
It's
that
the
you're not.
United States, right?
No, 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 no.
I can't vote the panties off an unwilling woman, no matter my interpretation of law. It
Yeah, but
can't
that's
be
not
done.
it. But it's not in law that you can. But what's in
because
law?
it's
What's in
illogical.
but what's in law in plain English? You can 100% do.
That's the importance of the Constitution, because the Constitution was demanded to be written not in these legalese terms, but at
Yes.
face value in common general definitions.
So how
Right?
could we not know then? If it's in plain terms in plain English, how could we not know unless we're handicapped or not of age of understanding?
Well, I've been reading the Constitution quite a bit. I'd say consistently for 4 years.
Have you read the
And
states too?
not all of them. Have you read Oklahoma's? Jesus Christ, man, that thing
Yeah.
is enormous.
Oh yeah, I've read
I
it.
hate
I've
it.
read pretty much all of them.
Anyway, my point is I still find new things.
Hmm.
Even today, I could read any part in this Constitution right now and probably find something new.
But
Right?
it's in plain English though, right?
It is.
And not hard to interpret or to understand, not interpret, but to understand.
It can be, yeah, because the definitions we use generally aren't the same as they were in 1787. Not all of
Ah,
them.
so then that means we just need to go look at the old definition to see what they meant when they were talking, right?
Correct. That's what I do. Yes.
And that would be easy.
It's easier. Yes.
Yeah, so it's just like with all contracts, you can
But
get your
but
name
again,
sued.
me personally, if I'm going to be teaching somebody, I would rather utilize something like this to ensure that my interpretation is at par with somebody else's interpretation, because we are a united people. So I can't just, I don't feel right in my own person to bring a teaching to somebody if I'm not fully aware of the entire context, right?
Yeah,
Or if
that's why
my
I go to it and we all read it at the same time. And then that way there's no discrepancy. And that's how I teach my people. We all open it up. People didn't like me for this back in the day. They say you're rude and mean and whatever because you make us go read everything you say. I'm like, yeah, so I'm not lying to you. You see it for yourself. But pretty
Right.
much every time we come to the same conclusion. Every time.
which
Every
is
time. That the written law is plain and simple and we can all understand it. And anybody who tells us we can't understand it is a foolish clown. Pretty much.
we can understand it. We have that ability. I'm not denying that. What I am
Yeah,
saying
so
is I'm not confident that we fully do understand it,
well, you
because
can't be confident about we. You can only be confident about you because you don't know what's in the mind of we. You just know what's in the mind of you.
that's
So
accurate. Yeah, sure. I'll give you
so
that.
when it comes to what is being taught here,
But
we
well,
all go
yeah,
ahead.
but I mean, again, we're known by our actions, right? By our fruit, we are known. And
Amen.
if we were aware of the Constitution, for example, I'm
Hmm.
pretty positive we wouldn't be living in the situations we find ourselves today.
I don't live
So
in the same
therefore,
situations you find yourself in, though.
I said we as a
Like
collective. We wouldn't have
when you
borders,
say
or we wouldn't
we,
have border issues collectively. What are our issues?
we got an audit without a we. 127 of us went and made the government do an audit because we said so. So I don't live in the same exact realm. When everybody's businesses were shut down, uh, thousands of us didn't shut down. We opened up private associations, went against the government, and won. So I don't live the same way as everybody else. When they wouldn't let people
That's because
visit
you
their
understand the Constitution, but I'm talking we
so we is not
don't understand it.
inclusive because not everybody is going through the same issues as you. Like for instance, that guy to the left of you, Jaron
That's
had a
what I'm not
situation.
talking about my issues. I'm talking about our issues. We are united. The border
Well,
problem
no,
is our issue.
no. Some things are
United
issues.
Nations
Some
is
things.
our issue.
United Nations is a farce. They are not doing anything to us right now. They can't
If they
control us.
weren't
They have
doing
no power
anything
over
to
us.
us right now, we wouldn't need a bill out of Louisiana to establish that they can't.
Well, to say that they can't means that you're trying to prepare to stop them so that they don't. But I don't see any United Nations workers here
I
making
do,
us do
because it's the
anything.
United Nations who feed and water and clothe and provide transportation for all immigrants to the United States and in the United States, as well as the United
So,
States taxpayers in the United
so
States.
what power does that mean they have over us? Just because, so it's kind of like drug dealers, right? Drug dealers feed fentanyl and feed a lot of crime into the country. What power do they have over the country is the question.
Right. So if somebody's invading your home, even though he doesn't have power over you, you're just going to sit by and let it happen?
Oh no, that's why we use the law to fix it, but not all of
Right. We, again,
not all of
we
we are
use the law
using
to
the law.
fix it. And my point is, we
Some of us
haven't
are
fixed
doing that. We who? Because some of us are actually
we.
doing the work to get it fixed.
Some of us is not we, as you've already established. Your problems are not
No,
the
no, no.
same as our problems.
Your we is not our we because we don't work with you. So when we
No,
have
I'm talking
success in
we, the
thousands,
nation. If you find
okay.
yourself in this nation, that is we. That is the we I'm talking about.
So the Bible says, "By their fruits ye shall know them." So there are some who are going to be wise and have fruit, but the whole nation is never going to be on the same page of following God or using wisdom. That's never going to happen. You're
Then we're not
always going to
united.
have people. No, we could be united in league to be in the nation, but wisdom is a totally different thing. Some people don't like God and don't want his wisdom, and they lose all the time, and their life sucks. Other
Yeah,
people use
probably.
wisdom. Some of the people use wisdom and law, and God says he prospers them because they trust in him. So I can tell you, we, the people who work with us, have thousands of victories that we can prove, but it's because we trust in God and we use wisdom. But at the
That's
same time, we could go to our neighbor and say, hey, there's some wisdom right here. Would you like to use some wisdom to keep your business open? And they say, oh, no, I'll just wait for my attorney to fix it. And
I
then
know.
2 years go by, their attorney don't fix it, and then they lose their business. And then people wonder why it happened. At the
Yep.
same time, the very same time, I can show you video of people who in New Jersey, California, different places in commie states, they use the simple law. They'll say they learned it from we, right? And then they defeated the government. The government stood down and they kept their entities open. They didn't suffer through the same thing. So it's not a thing of all of us coming together because you can't even get everybody to come together for a date. If you said, hey, help me get with this date, and people don't want to, they're going to say, I don't have time for that. So you can't get people to come together in simple things. To think that you're going to get everybody in the nation to come together to fix something that's big is crazy, but it never took that. America was created with 3% of the people. It didn't take the other 97% to say we could be free. It just took some strong, wise people who trusted in God. You could tell they trusted in God because you could read their state constitutions where they blame God for everything. So anytime wise people trusted in God and did what God said do, God tells himself that if you humble yourself, you come to me, you repent, I'll heal your nation. That's what God says. The problem is that a lot of people have been also tricked out of believing in God.
Yeah, it's order out of chaos.
Well, that's what the wicked do. They'll try to provide you conclusions that will allow for them to be in power. I don't do that.
Look, well, I mean, hang on. Let's try to get back on track here, man. It's
okay. So can we deal with common law? What we talked about earlier. So we were discussing common law, this idea of case law, and can we go through that to see if or common law and decisions of judges making up the common law? Can we deal with that issue?
yeah. I guess to deal with that would be to understand that how it's used. It's a ruling. Right? You're not going to use a case law from a divorce case for your possession of paraphernalia case.
Well, case law from a divorce case is not legitimate because that's just a decision in a hearing that's administrative.
Unless it goes to the Supreme Court.
No, it's not under the common law. So let's deal with that because you brought up judicial review, right? Doesn't judicial review mean that an agency action is being reviewed?
Yeah.
Okay, so where does the agency get the power to do judicial actions?
It doesn't necessarily have to be limited to agencies.
Well, judicial review is there for reviewing if an agency followed the law at the time that they were dealing with the issue. So where in any constitution did we grant anything called the agency the power, or even the legislature, the power to grant an agency the power to make a judicial determination? So just to be clear.
No, I understand what you're asking. I'm just a little bit baffled, to be honest. So the federal constitution grants the authority in multiple places. If we're talking about states, it grants them that authority or allots them that authority, or tells them in which framework it should be. And then in the state constitution, it's the House of Representatives that
Okay,
makes that, which would be
so
state legislature.
did any of them ever get granted authority to create agencies that will do so? Agencies usually in the executive branch. Did the legislature ever get judicial power to grant to agencies power to make judicial determinations over people?
They don't make judicial determinations over people. They make judicial determinations over actions or complaints, civil discrepancies, injuries, tortious acts.
Let's just make it easy. So let's take kids. When a legislature tells an agency that
that's
they can
an administrative proceeding or a tribunal, and that's unconstitutional. So I'd rather not talk about that.
So why is there judicial reviews of them then?
Because they're unconstitutional.
Why do you have to have a judicial review of something that's unconstitutional?
It's valid. I hear you. And I really don't have an answer for that, but that's the way it is.
So here's the question then. So if you have to have a judicial review because something is not judicial, was there ever a judicial judgment in the first place?
No, it's administrative.
So if there's never any judgment in an administrative hearing, and you said something can become common law when a judicial review happens, if the first thing was not a judgment, how the freak does a judicial review allow it to be okay?
A judicial review doesn't necessarily mean it's okay. A judicial review means they're reviewing it. It has nothing to do with the outcome of their review.
Okay, so
the outcome of their review is the next step. The outcome of their review would be the next thing to look at. If their review or the outcome is that administrative tribunal was unconstitutional or whatever, acted outside of its jurisdiction, if it wasn't an administrative tribunal, whatever the case may be, that's what becomes common law for that type of case.
So you
not for the entirety of the masses.
So you already said that it's unconstitutional to let administrative entities deal with the rights of people. So
yes, but look here. Let
me get this out.
Sorry, you're right.
How can any judge, governmental agency, entity, anybody certify that an unconstitutional act be common law or legitimate?
So you can use it again. That way you never have to make the same argument twice.
No.
Supreme Court in a judicial review reviewed a case and it found that the case was unconstitutional. And anytime a similar case arises in that scope of authority or jurisdiction, then it is immediately dismissed without judicial review because the Supreme Court has already made a ruling on this review.
So doesn't that mean the whole thing was unconstitutional in the first place?
That's why they had the review. Judicial review is not unconstitutional.
No, I'm not saying judicial review.
Okay.
Let me make this easier. Okay. So judges only can tell what the law is in their judgments, right?
No, they have a comity to law and other judges. They have to uphold the law, but their duty
so they have to
ruling
uphold
based
the law.
on the arguments presented.
Okay. Based on the law though, right?
In behalf of the law.
Okay, so let's say if somebody is getting ripped off in the court because the government side makes an argument that's unconstitutional, and the defendant doesn't realize that their constitutional rights are being broken.
Okay.
Is the court not supposed to correct the error and say, "Oh no, you can't bring that against them. That's against the law"?
That's a good question, and I've found cases to argue both sides.
Did you find cases over the people to argue both sides? Because anytime one of the people
let me specify. Okay, so anytime somebody's in court, it's generally an individual. He could be representing a corporation or another entity, or he could be representing himself. However, it's typically an individual. That being said, there are cases where a judge never ruled on it, right? He never said, oh, you can't present that evidence as unconstitutional evidence. They never said, oh, it's fruit from a poisonous tree, right? But in the rules and procedures, a judge should make that determination, right? That's part of the comity, right?
So under the common law, shouldn't they make that? Shouldn't they do that? Because government has to protect the rights and property of the people.
But nobody's perfect. And to be completely honest, to play devil's advocate, if I was a judge and I was always dealing with these frivolous, not to say they're fraud, but these petty cases all the time, every day, and out of all these people, nobody has a head on their shoulders. And so I'm not going to be quick to help these people every time they come in.
So as a trustee, though, somebody who's there to protect the rights of the people, you wouldn't protect their rights just because it's the right thing to do?
All I'm saying is some things will get past me. When I'm in that type of scenario, some things will likely get past me, right? In that case, that's why we have appellate courts and the Supreme Court and judicial review.
I would say that's 100% wrong, because the reason when you are a trustee of the people and you swear to protect the rights of the people, when somebody brings an attack on the people, you kill that junk on the spot immediately every single time, because it's
right, like an objection, right? Like an objection, right? But not everybody does that.
No,
there's attorneys who won't ever object.
Not attorneys. The judge should kill the case on his face for being unconstitutional, because he's a trustee of the people and he swears to protect the person.
Right, like, he should. You're absolutely right. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen every time, because nobody is perfect. It should. It should. Absolutely.
The reason that is happening is not about being perfect. Trump is going through this right now. Trump is being prosecuted unlawfully, and people say, well, you got the right to appeal. Why the freak does he have to appeal when his rights have been trampled in the first place in front of your face? Right?
Because it's the only court hearing it, and it's hard, just as we know, right?
Wait. But we got to go back, because you say a court. Is it a court hearing it, or is it a legislative entity that's hearing it? A statutory entity.
In Trump's case, it is a court.
No, it's a statutory entity.
That is a court.
That's not a court. It's a tribunal.
No, it's a court of limited jurisdiction.
That's not a court of general jurisdiction. It's not the right place. If you say Trump
committed a court.
No, it's not. If you say Trump committed fraud, you have to prove the fraud first. You don't get, and that's by a trial by jury.
I understand.
Before you take his buildings. So if you're using a statute to say that he's guilty, hey, anybody guilty of committing fraud, this, that, I could go take all your property.
That's the court. That's the court of general jurisdiction deriving their authority from a statute, which makes them limited. Quad hoc.
So
here,
it's not.
I would very much like to just read you this citation right here.
It's not a court.
This isn't even me saying this. This is
okay. I'll help you too. Somebody pull up common law action in Black's Fifth, please, so we can.
I do not use Black's law. Sorry, I will not.
That's fine, but it's the law that the judges accept, so I'll definitely use
it. It's not. They use Burroughs. I've spoken with many judges.
Sir,
Black's law is like for goy.
So you said you don't have a clue. I win in thousands of situations. So
I said I don't have a clue in regards to a collective.
No, you said to the law.
In regards to the collective, remember, I was emphasizing
you said no. At that time, you said you personally don't feel comfortable with yourself teaching the law because you personally don't have a clue. And we can go back and listen to it. That's what you said. And people here can agree because I quoted your words almost word for word.
All right, that's fair. If that's what you.
So did you say?
I feel that the context was abandoned, but that's
okay.
Cool.
Well, maybe I got the context wrong, but did you not say those words? Because at some time we got to.
What is me agreeing with you whether I said those words or not without the context?
Because I don't want to slip by the fact that you said those words and I quoted your words and you tried to act like you didn't say those words. You brought up.
Man, it doesn't matter whether I said those words or not. It does context or not.
It matters because if we are going to be honest in our conversations, we need to stand by what we say. Now, if you don't stand by what you say,
when I say I don't have a clue, does that deny all of my knowledge? No.
When you say you don't have
At a
is
perspective level, right? As I relate myself to the entirety of government, honestly, I'm clueless.
Okay, so when you
One
speak
versus
about
a
your
thousand.
when you speak
To
about
say,
your experience and what happens to you in your world, and I speak to you about what happens in my world with real law, and I have thousands of witnesses, I'm not trying to impose my belief on you. I'm trying to let you see what we've done already, because the Bible says, by their fruits ye shall know them.
of
So when
course.
I tell you this is what we're using and we have wins, like I can show you Jaron's win where he killed a $2.5 million debt to the federal government. Jaron did that using the law that we teach, right? When I
I've
show
done
you
that. I
Nick
got
D,
myself out of prison and got 17 years given to me on a 5-year sentence.
gotcha. So when I show
You
you
know,
Nick D getting $16,500 using the same law I'm telling you now, he's in the comments. He's in the place. He can tell you, yeah, I won doing that. So I'm not telling you stuff that I have not done. I'm telling you stuff that I taught people, and we have wins not me, the people will show you they
no,
won.
the discrepancy arose when you were trying to apply Black's Law. And it's not that you were trying to apply it or anything. It's just through my long journey of trying to interpret these terms, Black's Law isn't the best source.
Okay, well, the courts,
wrong.
when we use it, we win in thousands of situations with Black's Law, and never once did any court come back and say you can't use that.
That's fine. I was just expressing to you. I'd rather, me personally, if there's a term, I'd rather use it in boroughs, right? That's all I was saying.
Well, I don't know about that, but all I'm saying is what we use. We've never had an issue with real courts. We never had an issue with real government. We teach government literally every day, and we've never had a problem using Black's Law. Everybody has accepted it. Even attorneys have accepted it and realized, yeah, it's there. We don't like it, but it's there. So the Black's Law Fifth will clearly tell you that an action under the common law is totally different from a statutory or equitable action. So if you're saying that a statute is being used and that's a court, I'm telling you a court must be a court of record moving by the common law in order to take life, liberty, or property from anybody. So
hang on, did you take the liberty in the Black's Law definition to reference the citations of which it provided? Because generally speaking, when Blackstone talks about common law, it is in reference to English law.
Yeah, but we're in America where we have American common law.
That's exactly my problem with Blackstone.
And let me help you understand. In the state constitutions, and I'm not saying Blackstone's Law Dictionary, I'm saying Black's Law Dictionary.
That's what Black's Law Dictionary is. It comes from Blackstone.
Did you read that? For sure?
Yeah, for certain.
You should go back and get the author. The authors, plural, and watch what you say.
You're right. There are authors.
Yeah,
Which
so
version?
Go read it, and you're going to find it don't come from Blackstone.
Version?
Let's take Fifth. It don't come from Blackstone. Go check and see. Tell me if Blackstone was even alive during the time of the Fifth. But as I was stating, if there is a legislative tribunal moving by statutory text, it cannot be a common law action. It's impossible.
Try archives.
Therefore, it can't make common law. Hey, Jaron, you got Black's Fifth common law action?
No, not in front of me. You give me 10 minutes, I can, but no, I don't have it right now.
Dang, cousin Jaron, you got strawberries and you ain't got blacks.
So we just finished up Sunday lunch, but yeah, you give me 10, 15 minutes, I can get it.
10, 15 minutes? Gosh,
well,
dang
maybe Pilsner's listening. Pilsner, put that in the chat, bro.
You're a freaking scholar, and you're going to tell me 10 to 15 minutes? Jeez, oh, Pete Leroy.
Stand by.
This dude out here picnicking. Denise, you got it?
Hey, brother, I was going to let you know. I put it in the chat a few minutes ago. It's in there in the purple pill.
Can you read common law action out loud to us, please, dear ma'am?
Sure. I have the little ones in the background, so excuse any noise.
Tell him Uncle Dave said, "What up?"
Uncle Dave said, "What up, guys?"
Who's Uncle Dave?
I have my headphones in so they can't hear you.
Your chocolate uncle.
Yeah, my chocolate uncle, teacher, brother. That sounds kind of bad, don't it? Okay, let's just stay on point. All right, here we go. Common law action is an action governed by common law rather than statutory, equitable, or civil law.
Okay. So, dear sir, a common law action must move by the common law. A statutory action cannot be a common law action. So the cases that you get are based on what's put in. If somebody is using statutes to input into the text, into the case, there is no way that the product that you get out of the case is going to be common law, no matter who hears it or whether it. Where'd he go? Did we lose him?
Here. Thank you.
His signal might have got dropped out. See, guys, this is an important issue, though. When we're having these discussions about the common law and the such, we have to be careful because attorneys will slip in a statutory charge in a case, and then they'll go and take it to a statutory tribunal. And you'll see a lot of people in the law world would say, what kind of jurisdiction are we in? They won't tell me. And then so people who don't know the law will say, this is admiralty. And this is where a lot of the people in the law world get messed up. God bless their heart and soul, because they're trying, but they're calling things admiralty law because government officials are doing something they don't understand, but nobody told them it was some admiralty jurisdiction. So now you'll see in recent years, the courts will come out and say, when you say, what jurisdiction is this? They'll say, oh, it's a statutory jurisdiction. And the people who are in the law world who've been taught about admiralty don't get it that the judge just gave them the answer that they're breaking the law. So I'm showing you guys that if they're going to take life, liberty, or property from you, they have to use the common law with a jury of your peers. This is where we've been getting ripped off. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, sorry about that. No, you're leading the right direction, and that's what I was trying to explain in the comments. So if a case law, right, bear with me in the terms, if a case law is found in a court of limited jurisdiction, that case law only applies to that limited jurisdiction. So it's not common law. It's common in the sense of that specific crime or tortious act or civil infraction, right? But it's not common regarding all laws. It can't be used outside of its scope, outside of its authority. So that's why I was trying to explain in my comments when I was typing, at the beginning of all this, It's not common. It would be inaccurate to say that it's common. However,
so can we go deep? Can we go deeper back then? Like, can we go to the original place where the action is starting? Because if the guarantee to us is that we'll have a trial by jury in a court of record before anybody could ever take life, liberty, or property from us, then we got to go back and say, hold on, your
right.
trial,
That's the importance of challenging jurisdiction, right? And so when we don't challenge jurisdiction, and like, for example, let's just say you set a motion not to dismiss or anything like that, just a motion. You're asking the court to do something. Generally, you're giving the court jurisdiction if they didn't already have it prior, okay? And at that point in time, you lose, in some situations, you could lose the right to challenge jurisdiction because you've already given that to them. However...
Wait. So let me ask you that. So can a person, a man or woman, without full disclosure, remove their right when the trustee who's there to protect their right fails to give them full disclosure? When that
is a valid argument to make if it ever arises to make. I would suggest that you make that argument in the sense where, you did give consent and then you realized after the fact that they never had jurisdiction. And so
jurisdiction. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
You shouldn't be responsible for that consent if all the information wasn't supplied to you as required by law, right?
And jurisdiction can be challenged at any time, right? Even after the case is closed.
Yes, it can. That's why I said in some situations you can lose that right.
So let me ask you this then. Is it unlawful for a judge to accept jurisdiction that they know is not theirs?
Unlawful? That's a
Okay,
tough
so
term, but
constitutional stuff would be lawful because it's granted in the law. If they
okay,
accept jurisdiction that's not theirs, it wouldn't be granted in the Constitution, and they know they don't have it, right?
okay. In that general aspect, yes, they would be unlawful.
Well, it's not general, it's just the way that the law works. The law is very specific in granting jurisdiction, and when jurisdiction or power is granted, everything else that is not granted is not there. So when
Correct.
somebody,
But see,
when,
there's a remedy for that. That's why I stressed kind of I didn't like unlawful. But after your explanation, I'm okay with it. The reason for that is because there are remedies. For example, in this type of situation where a judge likely should have done something but didn't, and let's say the case is still ongoing, you can, I forget who it is different in each state, you can file an ethical violation, and it's with a separate entity. What happens then is that ethical violation attaches to their bond. And I don't know, there was a group of people that loved bonds. I don't know what the deal was. Anyway, that when you file the ethical violation and it attaches to their bond, now they have something that's holding them accountable, right?
so do you think that would hold them accountable more than the Constitution that they swore to?
Look, personally, I think that they should be accountable to the Constitution in all standards, in all scenarios, at all times. But unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. And so,
Why would you think? Why would you think that doesn't happen? Why doesn't it happen?
ego, money,
Whoa,
ignorance.
whoa, hold on. Now, that was a good answer. You said money. So money is usually when they're working in an agency, they're not getting paid from their
Correct.
normal source of salary. They're also getting paid in the agency tribunals that
Correct.
get a benefit from the case or the from the
It's actually titled usufruct of the law.
yeah. So there's two different. They're working in two different capacities. But in the maxims, it says that a trustee or a public officer shouldn't hold two offices. So
Correct.
how could it be lawful for them to hold two offices when the maxims say they can't because it'll make them breach
It's
the
not
trust?
necessarily lawful, but it is accepted within the law by consent.
No, because the maxims are there as a standard, and it says you cannot hold two offices.
I understand, but if you don't challenge these certain things like we're arguing here, and they're great arguments, and I'm not denying the arguments, I think they're very important to be made in a court. However, they're not being made.
So should they be made in the legislature because the attorneys are tricking the legislature to write these dumb things?
I think it should be across the board on our
Amen.
behalf.
Amen.
We need to file
so we
ethical
should-
violations. We need to file civil suits in the Supreme Courts. We need to petition our legislatures and our senators. We need to vote. Yeah.
So let me ask you, would it be easier though just to take teaching and spread it across the board to the Supreme Court today, to the federal Congress today, to the state legislature today, to the state courts today, and to go in and actually use your voice to show the people the actual law in front of the government's face so that the government knows that we know. And then
Yes.
that way it's not as easy to continue with foolishness. See, the only reason the government officials do the dumb stuff they do to us is because they know that we don't know.
Well,
As
it's also
soon as-
an unfortunate reality of this is some of the people that are actually willing to go in there and put their face in front of the nation and hold public officials liable for their actions. It's unfortunate that they have vulgar language. They're angry
Yeah, that's bad.
and they're
That's
passionate.
bad.
But
Well, see, you're right. You're 100% right. Because the Bible says not even to make friends with an angry man.
yeah, but it's
So
also
you're right.
understandable. So, while I agree with you, that is a very important part that we teach our legislators and we, speak in front of them, speak in front of the people as well. I think it's also imperative that we teach the people.
Amen. That's the most
like,
important. That's the most
Our
important.
education system is so flawed. We really aren't we aren't learning anything real world
Amen.
in our schools. So I think, even in my journey, I had to relearn punctuation, grammar, spelling, etymologies, Latin, just to make sense of a single statute, right? Or a code or a law. And that's unfortunate because whether it was my education system in my specific state or all the education systems, I feel like we're not being taught what we should be taught.
Amen. You know what? You're 100% right, and you hit the nail on the head. The biggest issue we have, see, the wicked, the corrupt, the deep state, whatever you want to call it, their biggest goal to keep us down was to stop us from talking to each other. Don't talk to your neighbor. They're strange, right? And not to talk about religion, politics, and money while they take all of it. And failing to teach us fundamental principles of law so that they could screw us out of money, religion, politics.
Exactly.
They screw us out of politics by our state, right? They tricked us into believing that common law was just politics so that they can govern it. And then they started trying to remove common law because that's the law of protecting our rights and property. And they moved to, yeah, we could just make statutes, and if we want to take it, we could take it with our agencies, which was a hoax. And then religion, they tell us, don't talk about God. You can't talk about God in school. Stay away from God. That's offensive. And then they turn around and put Satanist statues in our cities. They have kids looking at, engine and transmission study hour where people are twerking in front of kids, crazy junk, dressed as different sexes. And then when it comes to money, they tell us, yeah, you are supposed to just do registration of your car this way, and you're supposed to do this when your kid is born, and you're supposed to follow the law this way by letting the government make decisions for you, and you listen to what they say. In all of those areas, they've stripped us of our basic and essential knowledge to be able to fend off anyone who would attack our rights. So you're 100% right. Our forefathers told us, which were great men, and it's sad because I see a whole bunch of men who talked about God and how he is the only way that we can prosper, the God of the Bible. And he was written about in our state constitutions, and scholars started using just only the federal to talk about things. And they'll say stuff like, oh, well, the federal constitution don't talk about God or this or that and the other. And I'm like, yeah, but what birthed it, right? Don't try to get rid of what men do. And then they tell us, yeah, well, all of your forefathers were hedonists, heathen, Masons. And they're making up things to make people in white America hate themselves. So, if you look at today, they'll say if you're a conservative white person who believes that you love the opposite sex and you have a spouse and you're happily married, that you're a Christian nationalist, that you're in the far right and all this stuff, and they try to shame you about morals. But if you just take life to its natural sense and you say, why do God have people of different races? Well, if God had people of different races or color, he did it for a purpose, right? So if you try to take one group of people, right now they're working on people who are white, and you try to say, because you're white, you are evil, you're using class and race politics to destroy a nation just like Hitler did. What do I mean? If you look at America today, and I'm not trying to be funny, it's not my culture that is keeping America afloat. Because there was a time where Black people would say, we want to gain knowledge and wisdom and learn, and we want to study and be powerful in the community in different positions. Now it's hard to get Black kids to graduate. I'm not being mean or racist against Black kids. I'm just saying right now we're in a situation where we ain't got it like our forefathers did, who said, get an education like Martin Luther King, study, understand what you're talking about. So in the meantime, we got bad actors who are saying, let's lower the education quality of white people so that Black people can catch up. That's dumb, because white people are the ones who are leading the economy right now when it comes to business, when it comes to keeping the nation going and keeping us prosperous, right? So you have to not attack white people if you want black people to grow. But what's happening is there's a massive attack on morals, on race, on ideology that would lead to the nation being secure. There's an attack. And so that's another reason
divide and
why.
conquer. Yeah.
Yes, that's why it's another reason why they keep posting these videos again of a whole bunch of black people beating up white people in school and brutally beating up people. And then they'll get some videos of white people from history and say, look, they boiled you and flayed you and all this stuff. Because we come together and we are learning from different races, different groups, and we're becoming powerful. And it's for the exact reason that you said, we got to teach the people. When the people come together and start talking like this, and this is why I praise you for even coming on, when we can come together and just have discussions and not be mean to each other, not hate each other, but really just come on to gain truth for the people, you get a whole bunch of people that start listening and watching. And the ideas and questions that we've all had questions about, we can speak about in love. And then the next thing you know, we're like, oh yeah, wait, that makes sense. Oh yeah, well that does too. Oh yeah, well, yeah, that is how it's supposed to be. And we take the nation back. And that's what I believe bad actors don't want.
Yeah, they lose their power.
Yep.
If I were them, I'd be scared.
Heck yeah. You ain't lying. I mean, when you look at how the attorneys are acting when we have conversation now, they're flustered and frustrated, and they want to tell us so bad, you're slaves to the judge. The judge is going to tell you what you can do. The judge is going to tell you your rights. And there's nothing else that you can look forward to except for when it gets to the judge.
That's what they were taught, unfortunately. And so, while I don't like attorneys, I don't hold that against them, But
yeah, I just think it's a barrier.
It is. It's a strong one. I mean, an example, an attorney, she went to law school. Well, this is before she was an attorney, but she went to law school and she was passionate in the law, coming from our standpoint, if you will. And then she decided to go to law school. Well, in law school, they had a mock trial, and she was representing somebody in the mock trial. And the judge did something. He was practicing law from the bench. It's just a mock trial. But this lady, this individual, she says, "Excuse me, Your Honor, you can't practice law from the bench." She objects. And the whole room freaked out. And her instructor pulled her out. They went outside. And after a brief calming down of the nerves, the instructor told this lady that, you have a duty to the judge. You're an attorney. You can't do that. Right? And so that's what they're taught. And unfortunately, they enforce that upon their clients, that ideology. So with that being said, there are some attorneys who say it's actually better to represent yourself because you have more power and more options available to you in the court than if you were represented by an attorney. However, 90% of all attorneys will say representing yourself is the dumbest thing you could ever do because you're basically just a hypocrite because you're representing yourself, right? That's a biased argument.
Yeah, that's ignorant because you know your case better than anybody else, and you have the guaranteed right in the state constitutions to prosecute your own cases.
Exactly.
And it's funny. So people laugh at me over that. They're like, "Oh, you wrote prosecutor on a piece of paper one time." I said, "Heck yeah, that's dumb. You can't be a prosecutor because you're not an attorney." I'm like, "Shut up," right? Like the state constitutions tell it clearly. Just because you don't know, don't mean that I'm going to change what I do.
Well,
but it's deep people say that.
At the same time, let's say you did call yourself a prosecutor. It's up to the actual prosecutor, assuming you're a defendant. It was actually during a case that I made, but yeah. Okay. Well, let's presume that you are a defendant in this type of scenario, and you present the idea that you're a prosecutor.
I would never do that. I would never do that, but okay.
It would still be up to the claimant and the court to prove otherwise.
Well, see, the thing for me is if you're going to prosecute, you just have to have a claim that something is wrong. And Correct. you have the right to do that. The point I'm making is that the people have not been taught that they have the right to prosecute cases by attorney or themselves. So when they hear what the law is, it seems crazy, or they think it's cocky. Like, who are you to have the nerve to do something opposite of what we know? And I'm like, look, I'm just reading what the dang text says. Like, don't get mad at me for doing what the text says do, as our forefathers wrote it. And
Exactly.
I think that's where, not everybody is going to roll with you when you open up the book and say exactly what the book said that the government officials didn't know. Because even the attorneys, right? I can show you a scholarly journal article where it talks about how the attorneys at the higher level tricked the rest of the attorneys to believe that common law was policy in order to erase common law on purpose, because they couldn't get what they wanted in different types of cases if they had to use the common law. In other words, they wanted to steal the rights of the people, but the common law was in the way. So what they did was to start teaching attorneys exactly the opposite of the truth, so that the
They
attorneys will
federalized
no
it.
longer
Yeah.
say, well, no,
Yeah.
they actually lied and changed the law. I mean, changed the definitions on purpose to make people think common law meant something it don't mean. And I can show you the article. It's unreal, right? And when you see it, it's crazy because the attorneys will make the same argument that the article says every single time, bar none, every time. But they don't know that it was a trick played on them and that scholars know it happened. And so when you're talking to the regular people and you're trying to help them to see that they don't have to suffer, they don't have to be broken, they don't have to lose everything they have, right? Not saying that some people haven't suffered and lost everything they have, but they don't have to, and that there's something we can do. A lot of times, people are so caught up in what they've been told by attorneys and trust them so much, which is crazy because Jesus himself said that they'll take away the key of knowledge. When you read what happened to the attorneys and you get a chance to see it, I even feel sad for them. I feel sad for the attorneys because they're attacking people and doing things because they feel like they have the right to do it, even though they say, well, I've heard attorneys, I've talked to them one-on-one, and they'll say, man, look, I know this is bleeped up, like effed up. We shouldn't be doing this. This is wrong, but this is the way the court system works now. This is all we have. So it's nothing I can do. I've even heard them say, the way one lady told me from Prepaid Legal, she said, David, you don't need me as a lawyer. Everything you say is 100% true, and I know it. But the way that this system is set up, they don't like people who like fight things by themselves. And so because it's this way, and my license is caught in the middle, I can't help you anymore, but you're 100% right, and I wish you prosperity in everything you're doing. That's what she told me, right? And so the thing is that she realized that these tribunals are closed courts, they can't be courts, that they don't follow law, and that they're just doing wrong. And it was a blessing to have somebody stand up and actually say something.
And I
Not
do
stand
have
up.
to.
She just told.
I want to add real quick that a lot of the time, yeah, it is unfortunate that these courts are unconstitutional.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, any circumstance you find yourself in a court, it's
Mm-hmm.
probably unconstitutional. An
Mm-hmm.
example of this is people might see the style of a case being the People versus Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's a proper case. That's the people of the state bringing a claim against this individual, or
Mm-hmm.
the alternative.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm saying is, with the whole case law argument, yes, a ruling by a judge can be considered case law for that specific case, but that does not necessarily mean that it was lawful. Because when we get to the finite details, stuff like the war powers and things that you were just discussing, most of this crap that they're doing is unlawful, but we don't actually present the evidence to prove it as such. So with you, since you are actually out there proving this, allegations, you're actually finding remedy and results, whereas most people don't, because either they aren't writing their documents proper because they actually don't understand what they're trying to do, or they just don't understand the law, or they're scared. So we do find ourselves in a situation where it is corrupt. There is a lot of corruption. But personally, I'm not going to point the finger at judges at all, or in total, right? Or attorneys in total. I don't like attorneys just as much as I don't like cops. However, I have great relationships with both some attorneys and some cops, officers. So it's not a personal vendetta, but we do have to start fixing these things. And we do have to start questioning what's actually happening. Something as simple as when you're in front of a judge and you ask him, who has a claim against me? And I've seen this. The judge says, oh, the state of Idaho, and then immediately dismisses the case because he just realized that he made a mistake because the state of Idaho isn't a proper claimant. And then the case is dismissed. So there is that obligation we were discussing earlier where they should do something, but sometimes don't. Well, this judge did. So yeah, again, we have our own duties to oblige. We suffer for a lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
So go into a court and we start questioning these things. Who are you? By what authority do you have to address me by that name? What jurisdiction are you questioning me? It could be to the judge, or it could be to your prosecutor or the claimant, right? I would prefer that people question the prosecutor because, again, the judge is just a referee. So
except for in a legislative tribunal, like what I try to do, when it's a legislative tribunal, I don't even ask the freaking judge who they are. I tell them, I say, hey, the state constitution granted the authority for a judge to do this. Are you acting in the capacity of a judge, or are you acting under agency? Are you making money off of a program?
Are you under the Article 4 or Article 6? Absolutely.
So what happens is they a lot of times where we had good victory is when the judge realizes, oh my gosh, like they're coming in here swearing and telling exactly what I'm doing wrong and showing me the law where I can't do it and showing me where the law that I'm using says I can't do it. Exactly. So we showed the fundamental law from the Constitution. We showed the state. Like what we did to the ATF was we took the original Arms Act law and showed them where it said that this act has nothing to do with the power to interfere with the people's private right to own guns. When they seen that with some Maxim, they were like, holy moly. And then I told everybody, I said, watch this. After we get done with this one, the Supreme Court is going to go crazy looking for cases to fix this. And that's around the time that they went and got the Bruen case and went nuts. And they kept attacking. And then we sent them stuff about the administrative tribunals. And that's when they went after the administrative state cases after the arms cases. And then we told them to deal with sovereign immunity and how it doesn't exist. And they did that. So we've been able to go deal with specific issues with them over and over, and it's been good. We got somebody else who asked to speak last time. I'm going to open up the mic for him. I don't know who it is. Liberty Cola. Hey, Liberty Cola, did you wish to speak?
Yeah, man. I'm wondering, why are you making a lot of this stuff up? I mean, I get it that there are problems with the courts and that there's rampant corruption.
First of all, Liberty Cola, I'll answer your questions. Can you tell me a real name for yourself? Since you say I'm making it up.
My real name is Liberty Cola.
No, what's your real name?
My name is Liberty Cola.
So your mama named you Liberty Cola?
Is anything wrong with that?
I'm just asking you, did your mom name you Liberty Cola?
I have two parents. How about you?
Okay, let's do this. So
can you hear me?
Let's do this, Liberty Cola.
All the sounds coming through bad. Maybe my phone?
It's them. So let's do this, Liberty Cola. Take your license, cover up your address information, and please put a picture of it with your information.
Why would
covered.
I do that, man? Why would I do that?
Because you want to come say that I'm making up something with a hidden profile with
Well,
no face, no nothing.
let me ask you a
Let
question.
me ask
We're
you
just
this. Let
talking
me ask
about
you this.
law.
Let me ask
We're
you
talking
this.
about law.
So we're going to remove anybody from speakers who want to come play. They don't want to have a name. They want to make claims. If you're going to come here and make claims, I'm cool with it. Show your face. Show who you are. I'll give you a mic right now. Show your face and an ID. Cover up your address information. Bring your anus up here and have an argument after you do that. You could put it in the purple pill since you don't want to tell what your name is, Liberty Cola. You can put it in a purple pill, show that that's your name. I'll gladly add you right back and we can get at it. If not, to come be a clown show and try to disrupt, and you can make laugh faces, that's cool, but we're dealing with America and we got big grown people here. We're not playing games with clown show people who want to just make stupid arguments or troll without a face or a name or something that'll tie your anus to what the freak you say. Because to interfere with the liberty of the people is an attack on America. I take it very seriously. So if you're willing to bring your face, and or we can do this, I'll set up a rumble, I'll give you a link and you can show your face and we could get that action in face to face so that you're responsible for everything you say to try to interfere with the people. And that's if you're real, but sometimes people are clowning and laughing and joking during serious times. I don't really play with that too much. Some people would wish for the American people not to know the law and the truth. They don't teach the law and the truth, but they want to come in the middle of a serious discussion to try to stop people from learning the law or truth. And they think that by trolling that they could do so, and that doesn't work. If you want to show your face, Liberty Cola, on an ID that says Liberty Cola, with a picture of your face, and you can do it within 2 minutes, I'll let you on right now, and you can show me how wrong I am, and I'm making up stuff in the law if you're that gangster, but I don't think you are. I really think that you're going to be a coward. You stop laughing. Why? I really think that you're a coward and you're weak to hide behind a keyboard, and you see the American people dealing with real issues to free themselves from tyranny, and you're a coward and afraid to come show who you really are. Yeah, you'll laugh again because your feelings are hurt. I just touched those emotions. And now you're hurt because you realize you are a fake behind a keyboard and you can't meet the task at hand. You can't put your face up, show us who you really are and come speak, or show an ID with your information covered. You're not going to do it because you're really soft and you're trying to stop the people from having liberty and justice, but you're not real enough to come like I'm coming, where people can see a picture of my ugly bald head with the freaking cul-de-sac haircut at the top. The ashy elbow Negro comes face to face. You can hear my voice. You can see me. You can tell who the freak I am, right? Why won't you show your stuff, Liberty? If you're that serious. If you're going to say, you're just making stuff up, right? In your mafia voice. If you're going to say that, why not just show a picture of who you are and come? Because what I'm getting from you, and I'm not trying to be funny, you're dealing with the American people, and I don't think it's respectful when the American people are dealing with serious stuff, and me and this beautiful gentleman, Jared, who told us his name, can talk and discuss. I don't think that it's respectful to come before the American people with foolishness. It's kind of like in the ghetto, we call it 2-inch energy. That's the kind of energy you're letting off, 2-inch energy. And like most women don't like that. So if you could just happily show your face and an ID, cover up your information, I'll let you on and we can get that action. And I would love to go at it with you head to head, hard as you want to go. But I need you to show your face and be real and come to party like big boys and get off the 2-inch energy. All right. I will respect you more. I'll even give you 5-inch energy if you would just show your face with a picture real quick and ID. Come on. You gonna do it for us? Either that or you could put your wife on the phone and let me speak to your wife so I can ask her about you. And then we can get serious if you want to. You tell me which one you want to do. You want to show ID or you want to bring your wife to the phone? Because we're dealing with important business for the American people. The American people are going to be free. It's awesome that you follow me and you say that I'm making up stuff. So I know that you're going to hurry up and get your ID and show us so we can get into a real discussion and you can show me where I'm messing up or making up things, even though we're reading it out of the book. So let me know, Liberty, if you wish to do that. But anyway, guys, we are in a time now where it is beautiful, just like in the Bible, where people wish to spy out our liberty. They're upset that we're free. They're upset that we're winning. So they got to come and, oh, I want to say something. Why are you making up stuff? Right? See, here's what's funny, guys. If I was making up stuff and somebody was really a judge of what I was making up, wouldn't they have already taught you guys the truth and have a history of it? And if they already taught you guys and had a history of teaching the truth, wouldn't you know them by their fruits? And if you knew them by their fruits, would they have to come with a secret name, or could they just pop up and we all say, "Oh my gosh, I love that person because they've been teaching us how to be free the real way for all these years." See, what you notice is the people who don't teach you how to be free are the ones who have a problem with somebody teaching you how to be free. And they don't have their own platform where they can go and show you the right things. They want to come and say somebody is wrong when they have no history of doing anything for the people. And you can tell how serious they are by the fact that they just keep laughing. They got a little laughy, cute face over and over again because everything about Americans being free is funny. Y'all see that? See, in their own mind, they think that if they just make laughing faces, that it stops the sincerity and the power and the might of what God is doing with you guys as the people. But the amazing thing is that you guys, as the people, as I said this morning, have been getting wins, and God has been doing a new thing with you guys. You guys have been powerfully changing the nation, teaching the truth. People have had big movement. You guys have been shaking the earth by the amazing things that you do, and nobody can deny it. Nobody can deny it. And so, as we stand and as we move forward, just like Jared said, one of the biggest things, if not the biggest things, is to teach the people. I'm not worried about who in government or who as an attorney will contest when our forefathers showed us that when you rapidly teach the people in a way that is broad, that what's going to happen is the nation will correct itself automatically. You will not have good, righteous people learning the law, seeing their rights, and they not change the fabric of the nation and the way things work. The way that they change the paradigm in the nation to make things not work is to hide the law from you so that you don't know. Change definitions and do different things like that. But as soon as we get to the point where we understand the law and we start to stand powerfully, what ends up happening is that we get to a different level where we can actually fight and do what we need to do, right? So I'm telling you guys, we are in an amazing position. Uh, we are in an amazing position. We are growing. We are standing. We are getting victories all over. Oh, he wants to put a face up. That doesn't mean it's his face. Put up an ID with the name Liberty Cola on there. And if you could do that, Liberty Cola, because that's just a face, anybody can borrow a face. If you get an ID that says Liberty Cola, we can move forward and go ahead and have our fight so we can see how tough you are. So why don't you go ahead and show the ID that says Liberty Cola, as I asked you to, and we can get that action in. Come on. Let's take it to that next level if you're ready, Liberty Cola. I hope you lost weight as you laughed so much. You should have six-pack abs. You've been laughing for so long. Go ahead and get the ID, cover it up, and let's see where it says Liberty Cola. You should be able to handle that. And so, you guys, notice once again, whoever this guy is, does anybody recognize his face as somebody who teaches anybody to be free? Anybody? Anybody? Is this Trump or is this Thomas Massey? Is he Leah Cushman? Does anybody recognize this guy as anybody who taught anybody anything to help them be free, help them get victory, help them win? Anybody recognize this guy? I mean, he got a picture of his face. It could be somebody else's face. But does anybody have any knowledge of this guy? Hold on, let me share his picture so everybody can see. Anybody got any knowledge of this guy right here? sharing any information to help y'all be free? Any real law? Anybody? All right, so Liberty Cola, if you want that smoke, I'll give it to you. Just go ahead, put the license up, cover up your address information. We don't need to know your address. Let's see your face, and let's see it says Liberty Cola if you're that gangster. But if you're faking, just keep laughing. If you're living a lie. But see, y'all, this is the thing. So it's funny that people want to troll, and so far, nobody recognizes this face as somebody who helps people be free or help people get victories. And oh, April Fool's tomorrow. That's hilarious. Yeah, he might be April Fooling right now with his face. But see, guys, this is what happens when you're serious about moving forward in life and you are looking to fix things as a nation. You always get those traitors who wish to come in, spy out your liberty, and try to interfere with it. And, they haven't taught you anything. And the funny thing is, the Bible tells you, by your fruits ye shall know them. So if somebody, as I said, y'all, and I told y'all what was going to happen, if somebody is let me see. So, Miles, why don't you come on, Miles, and talk to us so that we can have a discussion? And let's see if you keep laughing, Miles Johnson. Miles, come on, dear sir. Miles, see, when you want to lie to people, Miles, you can't even tell the truth about your real name. That's sad and pathetic. Hey, everybody, please look at what I just put in the chat bubble. His name is Miles Johnson. Hey, Miles Johnson, your name ain't Liberty Cola. So can you please come, Miles Johnson, and explain why you had to lie to us and say that your real name is Liberty Cola when you know it's not? Please, sir. Are you a manager, or were you a manager at Techion Corp, sir? Miles Johnson? So why you lie to us, Miles? That's not a good start, to lie and say that your name is Liberty when you know dang well your name ain't Liberty. So please explain to us why you're a liar, sir. Miles. Miles, can you explain, please, why you just lied to us? So you're going to start off the date. You just met us. Now that's really 2-inch energy, my friend. When you start off the date lying already, that kind of tells us that you're not really a good date. So why would you come before the people who talking serious business, tell us a bold-faced lie about your name being something else when you know darn well that's not your freaking name? So please tell me, why would you lie? Why would you lie? I mean, now you're laughing like it's funny. So you came here with this 2-inch energy. You make up a claim about me making up stuff, but you just made up your freaking name and just told a different name than your real name. Then I ask you, is that your real name? Yeah, that's my real name. So what? I got 2 parents. So see, guys, this is the kind of thing that you have to deal with when you're dealing with a situation where you're talking in the law world. There's a lot of people who don't want you to get the truth out, and they're liars. And then they don't have a platform because they're liars. They're fake. They're living a lie. And they don't have a platform where they teach people because they're jokes. And then they want to come in the midst of some serious stuff and try to act like they're speaking from some wisdom, but lying the whole time. They got to cover up their name and information and their face because they don't want anybody to know who it really is that's attacking the American people, who are trying to keep you from being victorious in the world of law. And then what they do is you ask them a simple question and they just lie to you guys. This dude just lied before 100 people like it was nothing. So anyway, we gonna go ahead and remove this clown with his 2-inch energy. He can go to the bathroom and laugh at himself because he's a fake. And we'll go ahead and move forward. We'll move forward. But anyway, guys, so this is what happens, though, guys, when we are building. We got to be serious. We got to give each other a chance to be able to understand what's real and law. we are able to change the way that things work when we stand up and we bring forth real truth and fire. And guys, nobody can deny with law what is written in plain English. And so we got to get together often and use these opportunities to be able to discuss the real law, to be able to look and see what is written, to be able to reason with one another. The law, the real law, ain't hard. Now, people who don't want us to be able to stand on real law, they'll kind of like make things sophisticated. They'll make things hard for us. They'll lie. They'll try to put everything in a language that we can't understand, or they'll try to put it in Latin words so we as Americans don't see it. But it's not the way that things should be. I think that we got to have conversations like this a lot more often. We have thousands of wins by God. It's not me, it's by God, because God is mighty. God has wisdom. God can't lie. And so we can trust him. We can trust his word. We can trust the truth. And as we stand on the truth and we ask people to peacefully come have a discussion about what's going on in the world with law, with anything that's important to us, we're able to come together and get some headway where we go in the same direction. And then in the Bible, God let us know, and the situation in the Bible was a bad situation, but the frame of the situation remains the same. God himself said, behold, the people is one. And then he tells that nothing will be refrained from them that they imagine to do. Now, these were bad people, so God had to disrupt it. But when good people come together to do the things of God, it's not God that's trying to stop us from doing good. And so we need to realize that when we come together and we have these discussions and we do those things which are right and good, um, it becomes great. You know, we start learning. Um, we start learning to build each other up and not hate on each other. I believe that on Twitter we have the best platform in the world of good people who God has put together for such a time as this to help each other to stand. I believe if we look out for each other, we help each other, we bless each other. There's going to be times where famine is going to come. There's going to be time where they're going to try to do lockdowns if they can again, if we don't stand up and hurry up and get notices out there to stop them. And people are going to be hungry, people on these very spaces. But if we take care of each other and build each other up and learn to love each other and learn to be family, or we're not the church, but I like to mimic the church when I deal with online platforms because I want people to have a taste of what it's like when you're with a group of people who care about each other, like God said. And this is why a lot of the people who wrote notices had thousands of people to write notices with them. It's a big difference between when you write one notice to a government official compared to 500 or 1,000. And a lot of times when they see that people are paying attention and you're not by yourself, there's a lot of strength that is there. And when they see that other people are righteously indignant, but peaceful and love God, and they're fighting on your behalf because they love you, it's a good thing when you are struggling and suffering and you got people to call on, right? And so in the church, God established a way for people to be able to have family that prefer one another, right? Love one another. So I want to thank you guys for all your hard work, all your diligence, all your good work. Many of you guys have knocked down stuff in bad government across the country. I can't take credit for it. All I can do is say God used me to to help you guys get to where He built you to be. A lot of you guys are a lot smarter than me in many areas. A lot of you guys have gifts that I can't touch with a 10-foot pole. I can't do what Pilsner can do. I can't make documents and break things down like Pilsner can. I can't make cool videos like Riley Flack, but I'll definitely share the heck out of Riley Flack's stuff and praise God as I watch him destroy. Jaron Jackson is a lot prettier than me, and his beard game is on 100. And he speaks well, and he's powerful, and he's a master of words. I am not, right? So there are things that I can't do. You know, Diane, she is very good at organizing good posts and sharing them with great grammar and perfect understanding and with pictures. I can't do what she does. She is blessed. She is powerful. She is mighty, right? Violet destroys people with a single sentence. She'll brain ninja you. She'll whoop your anus with a comment that's so filled with power with like 5 words that you can't touch it. And I look at her and I'm in awe sometimes, like, how the freak did she just tear his anus up so bad? I can't do that. But God let me know her, right? God let me know her. And so I look at the powerful people that God has brought amongst us. You know, I look at Diamandre. Diamandre can tear up job forms and have them done quickly and take care of all the sophisticated things to make sure our notices hit the target, right? Jill and Sandy Zane can edit and make sure things are powerful and right and put together a structure for them to go out. I can't do that. I'm not a beast like that in that area, right? Betty Irvin gets out there and forwards things and posts and drops knowledge on people. Powerful. Summer goes out and destroys bad government actors real time in different places. And she was inside of the Republican Party. I don't know if you call it a committee or precinct in their area, but she would destroy them and whoop them. I didn't do exactly what she did, but she's a bad mama jamma. I don't have the same skills she has. She's a bad mama jamma. God brought her to us for a reason, right? So I'm not a bad mama jamma in every area. I'm a small fry that learned how to do a few things. And I'm gonna tell y'all a secret. God has allowed me to be able to see the truth that your forefathers wrote. And then people hate on you over the things your forefathers wrote because they don't want you to know it, because if you know it, you'll be one of the baddest mama jammas anywhere. So literally, I live my life borrowing the words of your forefathers and borrowing the words of God and giving them to y'all so you can see how effective God's word is, knowing that your forefathers were using God's word to kick butt like they were doing before, right? This is the type of powerful stuff you see. We got Denise going head up at government, tearing their anus up, destroying them real time, right? Clint, head up with government, destroying them real time, going and doing the teaching to the government and dropping off notices face to face like a boss, taking videos, getting stuff done. Steve Young out there making the sheriff stop forcing people to get licensed to carry guns so that they could just carry them, right? God has done a mighty thing with so many of you guys, and I can't touch y'all with a 10-foot pole, nor would I want to, because I'm realizing, and I have realized, that God has brought the greatest fighters in America in one place. And it's a blessing to be able to witness the good works that you guys do, even if you're sharing stuff. Don't think that sharing stuff ain't powerful, because in sharing stuff like you do, this is how the word gets out, because you're the real news. You're literally the real news. People are seeing y'all share stuff across Twitter. Y'all whooping butts so fast, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Just victory after victory after victory.
Excuse me, David. I don't.
Yes, sir.
I apologize
Yes,
for interrupting. But with that being said, is it too much for me to ask, like, a list of what people are working on currently, so we can organize better?
I could try, but there's so many things that you'd be writing forever. Because there's thousands of us attacking stuff all over the country right now. So it'd be hard as heck to like, I'll give you an example. Do you know that there's one state, like the conversation that you were having a discussion with us on in New Hampshire? You realize that we set up purposely to flip New Hampshire, and the government officials there who did the committee for CPS and stuff like that, showing how it's unconstitutional. The people of New Hampshire actually taught her bit by bit, and other politicians there, and they dealt with stuff with vaccines. They're helping another one with a federal case in New Hampshire. So there's literally probably 10 items in New Hampshire that we, the people, are teaching the government alone, where you could go right now, pull up their House video, and see a politician explaining the fundamental maxims of law, which we've never heard in our lifetime by anybody. There's not one person in the whole America that you can see teaching that except for Leah Cushman in New Hampshire, and she was taught by some of the same people on the discussion that we were having that you were on. So that's just one. So like, there's people who got the Arizona audit. There's people who ordered that Mayorkas have articles of impeachment. There's the ATF situation, the OSHA situation that got knocked down. We sent notice for that. There's the all the administrative cases. I mean, thousands. The UAW, we actually sent notice directly to the UAW and got letters back from the UAW. The legislature in Michigan started calling, telling people that they were not going to force mandates and that they could see that the law says they can't do it. And I shared that during the time that it happened. So there's actual evidence of that. But in personam jurisdiction in New Hampshire actually led a group of people where we literally said, look, who wants to flip a state and see how we could teach government, which is something that nobody saw happen in America. And then in personam said, pick me, pick me. So he picked New Hampshire. And now you see New Hampshire government doing something that we've never seen before, which is the government teaching the fundamental law, which shows that the work that Chris and his team did in New Hampshire actually brought forth a massive change and flip like we've never seen before. We're also seeing the same thing with Thomas Massie right now in the federal. So, and Jim Jordan. So, and the Supreme Court. So all of these things, there's so many I could even keep up. I don't even think in personam jurisdiction could keep up because he literally is talking to government every single day. Like every day, like literally every day. So there's so many things and so many wins. Like there's people here who could tell you that they won. And none of them have ever shaken my hand before or saw me face to face. They're not lying for me. But they're winning all over. And so it's so much good happening that I could, there's so many wins that I can't tell you all the wins because my duty has been to just teach them the law and how to stand. And then what ends up happening is that when we show the law and teach them how to stand, they end up moving to a higher level of getting wins in areas that I don't even look at. So there's some things that I don't do, I don't touch, I don't even think about it until one of the people come and say, hey, Dave, you know what you showed us and what we see in the common law, the Bible, et cetera, it applies to this. And I'm like, oh, shucks, tear that junk up then. And then they go tear that junk up, Now, I didn't do the work to get the win. I gave them the foundational principles to learn the law and use it effectively against whatever as God wanted them to be. Because God put all the skill there for them, all the experience they've had before me. And all I could do is give them a tool to use to be what God, has for them. So, but with that being said, it's 1:05. I need to finish my car because I did half of it yesterday. I need to do the other half. I need to finish gluing my oil pan onto the engine if I figure out that the oil pan will work. I got church service today I got to go to. And I need to write our new notice. That's an old notice that I was supposed to do, but I got caught up in a whole bunch of stuff. And, hopefully soon I can turn my new stroker engine on. And it's supposed to make a whole bunch of horsepower. My new carburetor just came in. So maybe I could put together some of the parts, have some joy today, eat some good food, and do some good things. But for now, I'm visiting. So hopefully I can get everything done, get back to where I can get to work. And, as I said, enjoy some more good food. But it's been good with you guys. You guys are the best. You are the most powerful fighters in America. And I thank you guys for giving me a chance. I know I'm a weirdo. I know I'm a chocolate hood brother from the ghetto that, uses a lot of slang and funny stuff. But but I have fun with you guys, and I love seeing you do the unthinkable. And, right now we're in a serious time where you guys have been busting butt and getting victory. So just know I appreciate all the hard work. I appreciate all the diligence. I appreciate you giving me a chance to win with you guys and teach what I know. You got a million people you can learn from. You've given me an opportunity. So I thank you guys. And I'm going to ask you guys to have fun, Be young. Don't drink Pepsi. Get you some good organic drinks. Get you some Zevia. All right, y'all. Well, I'm gonna catch y'all later. Dear Sir Jared, I love you, man. You're an awesome dude. Thank you for having some fun with us and some discussion. When I say fun, I know it ain't funny stuff, but it's an enjoyable thing to be able to come together with real men and women and be able to discuss important things for the nation. You are great and awesome for it. And I'll be praying that God bless you in all your endeavors. And hit me up with a message if you want to see some of the stuff we're doing or be added to some of the groups to see. And I appreciate you and I thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
All right, now we'll catch up with y'all soon. Y'all let me know when y'all want to do another space and what y'all want to talk about. Let me know if you guys need prayers for anything. If is anybody here that's hungry, if you don't have food, let us know. If you need food, we'll get together and make sure you have what you need so you can get your grub on. And not a holiday grub, because this day is Easter. That is not the same thing as Passover, guys. Easter is the day for Semiramis or Easter, or they called her the Queen of Heaven in the Bible. God didn't like her. But if you're hungry and you need food just for your life, for your sustenance, if your kids are suffering, they don't have clothes, shoes, something you got to need, you can always come tell us and we'll try to come together to make sure you have what you need. Now I'm not saying we're going to buy you a Lexus or a Beamer. I'm just saying if you got a real need, we don't want you suffering. God don't want you suffering. We do love to help people be blessed and move forward in life in a way that he would want, and he will get the glory. But I do want to say we love you guys. Y'all stay out of trouble. Y'all be cool. And once again, we going to say peace and go drive your fast cars.